The Keir Starmer is now a dead man walking. Every attempt by Keir Starmer to justify his conduct in appointing Mandelson in the first place was shot to pieces by the evidence of Sir Olly Robbins.
I felt was a generally dismissive attitude to his vetting clearance.
Starmer is running out of lives, but not just his own, everybody else's. It's very, very difficult to see how Sir Keir Starmer can survive as Prime Minister after Sir Olly Robbins' devastating evidence to the Select Committee. But he has survived so far when indeed he should have gone possibly a year ago, 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago. I think that in any normal circumstances, no Prime Minister could survive the hammer blows that have been rained down on him over the last few days, weeks, and particularly this morning by Sir Olly's evidence to the Select Committee. I mean, it was absolutely devastating. This is a man who came across as a civil servant of the highest shining integrity and honesty, a man for whom public service was all. And I believe, and I think the entire committee will believe, that he was telling scrupulously the honest and total truth. And that truth included allegations that from the moment he took over his job as permanent Under-Secretary at the Foreign Office, the decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to the United States of America, the highest diplomatic post in the gift of a Prime Minister, that this decision had already been taken and that the question of vetting his security credentials was regarded as incidental, if indeed necessary at all. So here was a man who came in, a very experienced politician, a very experienced civil servant, who knew his duties, knew the roles and rules, and was under pressure constantly from the moment he set foot in the door to give his approval to the appointment as Foreign Office Permanent Under-Secretary. He was under pressure from effectively Keir Starmer himself via the efforts of Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff, who said Olly Robbins was onto him on an almost daily basis, demanding to know why it hadn't been done, when it would be done, and why, and to just effing get on with it. It is surprising that the sort of pressure that he was under was exerted on a man of his position and integrity. And he wasn't to be moved. He decided that he would go through the processes and follow the rules that he was obliged to follow. But in the end, he gave approval to an appointment which was at the very least suspect and possibly actually dodgy. We now know that Peter Mandelson was denied positive vetting, developing vetting, but indeed one of the highest levels of vetting that could be administered on questions of security grounds.
Mr. Speaker, last Tuesday evening, the 14th of April, I found out for the first time that on the 29th of January 2025, before Peter Mandelson took up his position as ambassador, the Foreign Office officials granted him developed vetting clearance against the specific recommendation of the United Kingdom security vetting that developed vetting clearance should be denied. Not only that, the Foreign Office officials who made that decision did not pass this information to me, to the Foreign Secretary, to her predecessor, the Deputy Prime Minister, to any other minister, or even to the former Cabinet Secretary, Sir Chris Wormold. I found this staggering.
But the devastating question that was also asked in the Commons yesterday came from Diane Abbott, who said he keeps saying he wasn't told. Why didn't he ask? And this actually is the fundamental point about this whole story. Keir Starmer himself has access as Prime Minister and of the United Kingdom. He has access to all the intelligence secrets, up to and including some of the most important sensitive matters facing our MI6 and MI5 officials. If he wants to know, he can ask, and he will be told more or less what he wants to know. They may not go into the detail that would embarrass them or put our national security at risk, but he would be told, for instance, that there were indeed questions over the appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador with access to the highest levels of confidential documents and intelligence information. He would have been told that. And when he kept saying that he wasn't told, he didn't ask. And this is where I think that the downfall of Keir Starmer is inevitable. I think Starmer is running out of lives, but not just his own, everybody else's. He's disposed of nearly every person that's been playing a role in this Mandelson exercise over the period of weeks and months after the sacking of Peter Mandelson. As far as Starmer is concerned, in order to save his own neck, to save his own skin, he will throw anyone under the bus. And that includes Sir Olly Robbins, who came across to universal acclaim as a man of unimpeachable integrity and scrupulous honesty. Now, you therefore have to choose between a man with that image and reputation and a man like Keir Starmer, whose reputation is shabby, besmirched, and tarnished over a period of the 20 months or so that he's been Prime Minister. The Keir Starmer is now a dead man walking. He's been a dead man walking for quite a while, but now the knives are publicly out. We've had Ed Miliband, one of the most popular and ambitious people in the Labour Party, nowhere else but in the Labour Party, who has publicly said today that he was opposed and said he was opposed to the Mandelson appointment from the outset, and has also repeated the fact that the Foreign Secretary at the time, David Lammy, was also opposed. We know that the National Security Advisor, Sir Jonathan Powell, was opposed and said that it was a much too rushed appointment. Nearly everybody who knew Peter Mandelson and knew his record was opposed to the appointment, except for Peter Mandelson himself, who's a very, very, very good friend. Morgan McSweeney, he's also a very good friend of Matthew Doyle, decided that he wanted the job and he would get the job, and Keir Starmer went along with it. It's difficult to say why Keir Starmer overruled people's objections, because he's an ultra-cautious man. I think he's just a weak reed who goes with the flow, and now the flow is beginning to wash him away. I think once the local elections are over and the death toll is counted, I think that there's no way that he can continue to lead the party or the government or the nation. So this is the way we have a rather shabby and unscrupulous government in operation. And the leader of that shabby, unscrupulous and dishonest government is Keir Starmer. And as a result of the disclosures that we've heard now on the record, on oath by the former head of the Foreign Office, mean that his days are numbered. It's just a question of when, not if.